DOT requires the night work?
A lot of night work. Yeah,
Really?
a lot of night work and weekend work. So we started last night a job on I-75 right there by the Brave Stadium, and it'll be all night, and then you have certain weekends that you can work around the clock, which is really when you get your production, and you can't work when the Braves are in town. So I mean,
Oh, really?
it makes it interesting.
At night, is it typically just resurfacing paving work, or is it everything?
No, it's mainly resurfacing work. Yeah. Yeah. Interstates and even some state routes. It's nighttime. Construction work for the most part we can do during the day, except for, same thing, interstate lane closures and that sort of thing are reserved for night. But, which, a lot of the state routes and the interstate work is a lot of what we do. So, this year, hopefully not so much, but like last year last year we were running 16 paving crews. This year we're running 17. I would say 11 of the 16 last year were all nighttime.
That's a lot of asphalt.
It is a lot of asphalt.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, that's 17 crews. Keep that fed.
It takes a lot of tons.
No kidding.
Yes.
Yeah. How many tons a year?
We run, last year we were right around 4 million. So it'll be a little bit more than that this year.
And you supply most of that to yourself?
We supply all of that to ourselves.
All of
it. I'm sorry. So half of that production is to our own crews, and half of that is to outside customers.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. So I guess when did you come to the United States? Because I didn't even know you weren't born here.
I came when I was 17 years old.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
I was born and raised in Venezuela.
Yeah.
My mom's American. My dad was born in Spain, but he moved to Venezuela at a young age. And then my grandfather started a little small construction company that did more water and sewer commercial type work. And Dad worked with my grandfather, took that over. And the idea was that I would come to the U.S., go to school, and then go back and run the business. It was the idea my brother would do that, and he did not return. He met a gal from Charleston, South Carolina, stayed. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then it was the same idea for me. I was his last hope. I was the youngest, but while I was in school, Dad had a stroke. So Mom and Dad decided to move up, and then sold the company, which ended up, being kind of godsend because things down there got really bad in the late 90s, and the economy there to this date is a mess. So it kind of worked out for the best, but that was the original idea.
Sure. So you grew up around the industry though? Huh?
I grew up around the industry some, like I said, more seeing my dad in the industry and spending time with him in a few sites and so on. But it wasn't large construction like we're doing at C.W. Matthews. It was very small scale. He probably had 20 or 30 employees, but definitely a little bit around the industry. And my brother, prior to me, he studied civil engineering, and he went the engineer route. I did the same. I did civil engineering, but decided that I didn't want to get stuck behind a desk. So I really enjoyed the field side. So got lucky and got a job in heavy civil right out of college.
It's all this reminds me, there was a guy I met when I was in Europe, and he's somewhat taking over the family business. But the funny thing is, he went to the United States to study, and he had a great job lined up in he was like Miami or something like that. I mean, just a killer place. And he was loving life in the United States, wasn't going to go back. And his dad was like, no, you don't understand. You're coming back to run the company.
Yes.
So he didn't want to go back.
He was ready to stay.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I feel like that's a great person to run the company that not raised and not wanting to run the company. Like, all right, fine.
I guess I have to go back and do it.
I'll do it. So you get into the heavy civil world right out of school.
I did, and really kind of fortunate. My senior year in college, I have early on that year, I got a job with a company called Metromont, and they did precast like drainage structures and beams and that sort of thing. And just a few weeks before graduation, they called me and said, "Hey, we kind of have had a change of plans, downturn." and we're not going to be able to offer you the job. So I graduated, really didn't have a job. I actually flew back to Venezuela, spent a few weeks there with my buddies, and kind of said, hey, I got to figure out I need a job. So then came back and just got fortunate. One of my friends from school, his dad worked for a large construction company, and I got a job out of school with them in Maryland. So I picked up my stuff, threw it in a U-Haul. I really didn't own much of anything, and went to Maryland, started working for that company. And that company relocated me several times. It was a great experience. In the late 90s, that company acquired some companies in the South, actually from Hanson, and then later on had another acquisition of Vulcan, and that brought me back south, which is kind of wanted to move back to South Carolina. That's where I had gone to school. Same with me. I have met my now wife. She was studying in South Carolina, and I was up in Pennsylvania. I had moved up there to a small town north of Pittsburgh. So that kind of worked out. Came back to South Carolina, and then in 2002 moved to Georgia, again with the same company. I was with them for 17 years before going to work at Matthews 9 years ago.
Is that right? Wow.
Yes.
So you were 17 years at the same company.
I was.
Before C.W. Matthews.
Yes, I was.
Holy smokes.
Yes, and similar, obviously type work, and at times the two companies competed a little bit, but not all the time. But I was very familiar with C.W. Matthews, and they had a great reputation. And again, just through kind of an interesting exchange, the company I was working for was in the looking to sell some asphalt plans. Matthews was interested, in just a deal never went through. It kind of fell through at the last minute. And then, I connected with Matthews, and out of nowhere, they offered me an opportunity to join them. And I had been moving around a good bit. I was traveling. We have 5 kids, and it was just a good opportunity to kind of settle in one place, obviously for a great company. So, it was a tough decision, though, because I had been with the other company for 17 years, worked around a lot of great people. So it was a tough decision at the time, but definitely one of the best decisions I ever made.
And that's one of the unique things about Matthews. You guys it's a big contractor, but you just stay in Georgia.
Correct. Yeah, we at times have gone across state lines. We did a little bit of work in Alabama. We recently completed a large design build jobs in Chattanooga, Tennessee. But for the most part, 95% of our work or more is done in the state of Georgia. So like you said, it's large, but one of the benefits, and we sell this to our employees, I think they appreciate it, is that, we're not traveling to multiple states. They get to go home at the end of the shift, and it is good. It creates a good, family work-life balance as much as you can get in this industry. So.
Sure. What position did you start?
I actually started in estimating, which, looking back, I always say that didn't make a whole lot of sense. It's hard to bid work unless you've seen things built. But I really enjoyed that. I enjoy the numbers side of things. And I worked with some great people that, were very helpful as I started in estimating. But I took every opportunity I would get to get out in the field, go look at the jobs, spend time with the crews, just really to understand the work so that I could become a better estimator. So I did that for a while, for the first, 2 to 3 years that I was in the industry. But then when I went to South Carolina, I was placed over a job on I-85. It was widening of I-85 in the Greenville, South Carolina area. Then I was fully in the field as a project engineer, but I was really doing a lot of different things. Just I always have enjoyed spending time around the crews. So that's when I got around paving crews. I was doing traffic control in the evenings, at nights, and just got kind of more of a feel of, the work outside. Really enjoyed that side of it, and just really got lucky, got a lot of opportunities early on, had some great mentors. So, again, worked in Greenville for a while, and then I got my first opportunity to run kind of a small area, which included at that time asphalt plant and a shop and construction in Augusta, Georgia in 2002 when that company asked me to move. So I was 20 28 at the time. So got an opportunity at a young age to run a small area or region that they called them, which obviously gave me a lot of opportunities to learn by mistakes that I made and
Yeah.
just by seeing, and trying to lead people to do this work that I love doing.
So when C.W. Matthews hired you, did they hire you at the executive level?
They did. So I came in as COO for them over
Oh, really?
operations, which
Oh.
was kind of interesting because a lot of the team there that's there still today has been there for a long time. So
Mm-hmm.
I was nervous, to be honest with you, coming in. I mean, the great reputation, just great management team. So I was new kid on the block, but it's been awesome. I mean, everybody was very welcoming, and we there's a lot of expertise there, a lot of knowledge. So it was just kind of just being part of the team and kind of bringing everybody together. And I couldn't ask for anything better. It's worked out really well. Family owned business, and the owner of the company is just can't ask for anybody better to work for. So that part was has made it very special in that he allows us to make decisions, run the company. Like you said, it's a large company. Almost 1,400 employees, but at the same time, it feels small. It has a small feel of a family-owned business. So,
How do you foster that feeling of making it a small family business at 1,400 people?
it's getting down in the trenches and having a true understanding of what our employees have to deal with day in and day out. So it's fun. It's challenging though. Again, it's very large, so fostering is can be difficult in getting the message out to the labor force. But I think our culture has been, and I think we continue to improve in that sending this message that the executive team, the support team at the company is there really only to serve them and allow them to do their job, which is hard enough these days with all the challenges of attracting people and retention and the demands of the owner and the specs. And like we were talking earlier, some of the work's done at night. You have the traveling public. Most of our work is for DOTs and public county entities, counties, that sort of thing, cities. So, but I think you just foster it by your actions, not necessarily by your words. But it's not just me, right? It's the whole team, and I think we do a pretty good job at that. Is just letting them know that without them, we don't exist. Uh, that they're important. They're really the key. We're well capitalized, so we can get the equipment. We have the asphalt plans. We have the tools we need, but without these employees, we're nothing. So, I think we do it by a million different things. I mean, just staying connected to them, offering the benefits and the pay and all that. But it's more about that. It's more about what we're constantly preaching is about supervisors having really a connection with the employee, knowing their families, knowing, giving them opportunities when possible to have time off, to attend events for their children or whatever the case may be. And not just saying we're going to do that, but actually doing it. I feel that's, just a small way of how we try to do that.
It was interesting. I went to, I don't even know when it was at this point, but I went to visit you not too long ago. And I typically, when I come to visit and somebody like you, president of the company, it'll be like, oh, this is actually, I'll feel like a little bit of a hindrance because I feel like I'm having to get babysat, but they're always just like, no, I don't get out of the office. This is fantastic. But for you, it seemed just like another day at the office. And I say that not literally because you're out on job sites all the time. Like how often are you out on a job site?
I'm not out as much as I'd like to be. You know, I think you always want to be out there more because to me, that's the fun part, right? I mean, all the stuff at the office, it's part of it. And, the estimating side, I really enjoy that and the whole strategy about capturing work. But where the rubber meets the road is out there, is where the employees are making things happen. Just enjoy being around the people. Again, I just have a love really in the industry more about the people that do the work than anything else. So There's times that I'm out there several days a week, but I might go, a few weeks without getting out there. And I kind of, almost feel guilty because I want to be out there. I want to be part of it. And that, like I said, I just really enjoy. It's amazing what you can learn when you get out there talking to these men and women, right? So, and some of the guys sometimes give me grief. It's like, how did you learn about that? Or how did you hear it? And it's like, it's just as simple as just going out there and say, hey, how things going? And it's amazing what people are going to tell you. But if you're not connected to those men and women out there, you really don't know, hey, what are the issues they're having or experiencing? And our team does a really good job of that at the executive level, at the middle management, is get out there and just, remove these roadblocks, because it's difficult. I mean, these foremen have a tremendous amount of pressure on them to lead people, to satisfy the owner, to meet production so that we can be profitable. So our job needs to be, how do we get the road, like I said, just remove roadblocks so they can do their thing.
It was amazing to me, though, because it wasn't just you kind of, I don't know, I get to see a lot of people, and I just like to watch, and sometimes it'll be, the executive is kind of off, just doing their thing. They're pretty low key, but you're there shaking everybody's hand and talking to a lot of your guys in Spanish, because you can speak Spanish, obviously.
That's a big benefit.
It's a big benefit. But you were just, you were getting to know the people. You weren't so concerned, it seemed like, about, well, how's this job going, boys? Like, are we making production today? It was just like, hey, just like, I remember you saying, like, my accent's not very good, but it was like, Yamame, like give me a call to some of your guys.
Your
and
Spanish is good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And you meant it. And you can tell you meant it. It wasn't this act because, we were there with a camera. It was just like, yeah, this guy clearly does this all the time. I think that's pretty special.
I appreciate you saying that. Like I said, it's important to me, and it really is about words. I mean, these guys see through phony pretty quick, right? Yeah. So, and again, that is what makes our industry so amazing, is the people that are in it. These employees, they have a lot of challenges, both at work and personally. I mean, everybody's going through something. So, we're there for them. One of the things I think we've done that's really awesome is we got this thing called the CWM, C.W. Matthews Employee Foundation, which is in essence a 501, where our employees donate to it. Our own employees at all levels donate to it, so that in an event that somebody has, whether it's a death in their family or somebody's house burned down, whatever the case it is, an emergency, then this fund covers those expenses and helps our own. So we try to do a lot of things to bring the team together, but really, again, it's not about just programs and ideas. It's about just caring for other people. So I think if that doesn't start at the top, then, how does everybody buy into the culture? But I honestly do really enjoy just being out there and having those conversations with our employees and just kind of seeing what needs they're there. How do we become better? I mean, a lot of the ideas come from them. We try to do that as the guy on the roller or the guy on the loot or the guy running the doser. They're the ones out there experiencing the issues every day. If you're not out there talking to them, how do you really know how to best serve them in order for them to do the work?
Well, at a construction company too, everybody in the office is overhead. That's just one line item, but that's not any of the money on a job. All of the money on the job is in asphalt by the ton, is in linear feet of curb, is in cubic yard of dirt moved. And they're the ones actually making all of the money for the business.
Absolutely.
It's a really unique thing in that they, the executive, you're just overhead.
Exactly.
You're just supporting them at the end of the day.
Exactly. And if we're not turning a profit, they don't need us, right? So that is the key in how to keep people motivated, because we do want to give them the tools and keep them motivated so they can be productive, so that we can turn a profit. But again, we do talk a lot about that, in our administrative staff. I mean, our equipment side, it's a prime example. The gentleman that's running that for us came from the Caterpillar dealership back in 2010, and he really treats it as a service. I mean, he's there to provide the support to our field so that they can run the equipment. It's not just,
Mm,
we'll get to it when we want to. Is, hey,
yeah.
we need to get it done so that you can continue to be productive. So a lot of our support team, thankfully, from a culture standpoint, thinks that way. Is, hey, we're here to support you in the field to make sure that you're productive and that we're profitable.
You talk about, I think something that's unique about you guys being so as big as you are is the religious component.
Yes.
Can you talk about how that plays a role in your business?
Sure. I'm glad you asked that.
Yeah, it's very, I think it's very unique.
Yeah, it is unique. So, I think the whole idea comes from the company is based on Christian principles, the family, those are their values. And thankfully, a lot of us share that. But it's more than just, being out there and necessarily trying to change somebody's mind or or trying to lead them in a certain way. It comes from the care for others. It comes from kind of the golden rule of treating others like you want to be treated. But it is unique in that, those are my personal values. I grew
Hmm.
up that way. My parents both were strong in their faith, which you know, uh, I grew up in the same way. But um, when I first when I first started at Matthews, went to their board meeting. I mean, I just started, and they open up in prayer, for example. So we
Mm.
do that at every meeting. Even us, our guys, if we go out to eat together, we will open up in prayer. But again, it's more than that. It's just one important thing about that is we got to live it through our actions and not just talk about it, because I think that turns people off from faith. But unique to us is we have a company pastor. He started with us a couple of years ago. And again, what we saw there is that, people are looking for help. People are have situations at home, are going through possibly a divorce, the death of a child. I mean, we experienced that recently with one of our employees, and our pastors there just to be there for support, to put their arm around them, to pray for them. And our goal is, that at the end of the day, yeah, we build roads and we build bridges, but we really want to build good men and good women and good fathers and good sons. And we have that support again there if somebody needs it. So
Mm.
our pastor sends out a text every Tuesday morning at 6 a.m. that goes to all our employees. You can either sign up for it or not, but I think it's been well received, and that we're there again to support in any way we can, and we feel that faith is a good way to do that. It also originated from, unfortunately, a tragic accident that we had where we lost one of our employees, and we found ourselves trying to support the crew that saw the accident happen. And we
Mm.
had somebody come from the outside to kind of minister to that group and be there for them, to provide support. But it wasn't anybody that they knew. It was somebody that came from the outside. So there wasn't a connection. So by having Todd, who's our pastor, as part of our team, then when we have a situation like that, which we since had, it was a connection, somebody they know, somebody that they can lean on if they're struggling. And again, our at the end of the day, we kind of see it as a greater mission, in that we want to be able to share our faith with those that are willing to listen.
Sure. And I think you said something important there too. It's be focused on building people, just great humans, then they go build the stuff you need to build. I
Exactly.
think a lot of companies have it backwards. They just focus entirely on building stuff. And yeah, I guess, part of building stuff is you need human beings to do it. It's such a pain in the ass. It's like a hindrance to doing the work. But if you just instead focus on, let's just build great human beings, everything else gets taken care of as a result. And at least we're far from perfect at it. And I want to do a lot more, but that's where we spend a lot of our time, is like, let's just focus on the humans we have here. And then everything else is miraculously going to get taken care of as a result.
And we're already seeing the results of that.
Yeah.
Not that that wasn't happening before, but you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly what we want to do, is we want to build good people. And I think if we do that, the rest of it will take care of itself.
How, talk about just like the world of building things for DOTs and the world of public work. You do hundreds of millions of dollars a year in public work. These are big federal, state jobs, interstates, state routes. It's big work you guys do. Can you talk about how just that's awarded in the process? Because I don't think people understand a lot of things about how public work is created.
Sure. So pretty much the majority of the work we do is awarded on low bid. So it is challenging because if you quality a lot of times per se really doesn't play into the equation. Of course, if you do the work, you have to do it. You have to do it timely and build a good product. But that none of that matters at the beginning when you turn in your price. So you have to be better than the competition when it comes to production and making sure that you have the equipment, that you have very little downtime. So you're looking at all those things. The majority of the work we do is paid by the line item. So if you install if you move a cubic yard of dirt, it gets paid that way. If you do a linear foot of pipe or a ton of asphalt, it all gets measured and paid. So that's a little bit different than in the commercial or private, where you just turn a one lump sum price. Our work for the most part gets paid by units of measure of what we do. But every third Friday of every month, Georgia DOT, we turn in a bid, and that's like the 2 longest hours of my life, from the time we turn in the bids to the results start coming out. Because you're excited. I mean, still to this day, been doing this for, I guess, 26 years, and it's the adrenaline rush. It's like you've turned in this prize and you want to see if you got the job, but you don't want to leave a lot of money on the table, but you still do want to pick up the job. So a lot of it is technical. A lot of it is art, when you're trying to see what backlog you have and kind of figuring out what the competition's going to do. So it's very exciting. It's a fun part of the business, but it is, in a respect, in one way, it's different in that you got to be the low bidder every time. So there's a lot of pressure that goes into that. We do have a few jobs, and we've done very well on the design build side. We do that for public entities as well, mainly for the DOT. In that case, the price is a lump sum price.
Sure.
Of course, you get the opportunity to play a part in the design side. Of course, we team up with engineering firms, but you have the ability to be more innovative and come up with some methods, to change, maybe what was originally intended for that project. So again, that's been a great side for us. We have a division that specializes in just that, not only the pursuit side, but also the execution side. So it's a different team because it's a different mindset, on the mindset of getting paid by the line item. If the inspector wants you to do more work, you get paid more for it. So it's not the end of the world if they add some work or whatever the case may be. On the design build side, obviously it's a different mindset. So
a totally different mentality.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen that play out. Yeah, sometimes you're super, I mean, especially on the private side of things, it's like, yeah, we'll do that work for you. Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about the money or anything, because you're trying to build that relationship. But
yes.
when it comes to when you're getting paid by the line item, and that's like, if the price is the price, whatever it is, no, we're not doing that unless it's a change order.
Exactly.
Like, it's not in the contract, so I'm not doing that.
Sure.
That's not always cut and dry like that, but you do have to play that game a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, the part that right now is challenging is, some of the projects we have are years, 2, 3, 4 years old. So in that regard, the line item is the line item, and that price is the price. So, labor has escalated, materials have escalated, and the owner is not really compensating you for that. Where I think on the private side, you have more room to negotiate some of those things. On the public side, not so much. But, it's great for us. We have great relationships with the owners we deal with. I think they know that we're going to be fair with them. We're going to do the job, and we're going to do quality work. There are times, The DOT, for example, has gone here recently to what they call A plus B. So part of the price is on the A component is the price. The B component is the number of days, and the days get assigned a dollar value. So if you're a contractor that says, hey, I can do it in 600 days, and it has a value for each day, another contractor says I'm going to do it in 800 days. So that kind of plays as well. I think it's a good method for certain projects. If it's a project, you know, that you could really add some resources to it, cutting through the middle of the woods, moving dirt, laying pipe, laying asphalt. I think that's the best utilization for that kind of approach. Sometimes some of the owners have used it more for widening job where there's a lot of utilities and that a lot of times we don't have under our control. So on many of our projects, the power and the, cable and AT&T and all that is being moved by those agencies. So we don't really have control over the time. So that makes it a little bit more challenging when it has that B component. But when we have all the control, we really like that approach because, again, we'll just add the resources to try to get the project and then build it as fast as we can.
My only qualm when it's so focused on the schedule is that, especially when these big contractors come in, and I'm sure they kind of go in and out of your market. You've probably seen that a bunch.
They do.
They come in, and a lot of times their model is they just blow and go, and they'll just run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they kind of screw the market up in a sense. And it's just like, okay, so you're just going to work all the time, and you're just going to burn out your whole workforce, and then you're going to leave town.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen that. I've seen that in a lot of places.
Yes. We've seen some of that. There's some of that. I mean, there's some really large projects coming to Georgia. They've instituted this program called the Major Mobility Improvement Program. So there's some large jobs coming, over $1 billion each project. But There's a couple of those going on right now. We haven't seen a lot of what you just referenced in Georgia, but I'm familiar with it. I've seen it elsewhere. What happens with those as well is, these companies come in and they don't have a local force. So they come in. The only way to get that is by paying higher wages.
Correct.
So you end up losing some people,
Yeah.
but then, they realize, hey, it's just a company that's coming in to kind of do one project and then they're going to leave. So those people come back to you. There's some of that that happens, but thankfully, we haven't had a huge issue with it. We've had some, but I think the majority of our employees realize, hey, that's a short-term gain that I might get paid a little bit more, but the job's going to only last, a couple of years. And then what am I going to do? So there's some of that, but we've done fairly well in trying to hold on to our employees when that happens.
There was a lot of talk about the infrastructure bill. Not anymore, because there's plenty of other things going on in the world nowadays, and that news cycle's far surpassed us. But is the infrastructure bill actually, is that going to play a role in the future? Or how does that affect a company like you guys, if at all, or does it just continue what's already happening?
It continues what's happening. We were excited when it happened, even though a lot of the funds are not going to build, roads and bridges and so forth. Some of it is going for broadband and other things that are necessary. We just don't do that type of work. We were very excited about it. Georgia had announced that it was going to increase the program by 20%, which is great. The problem is, since it was announced, inflation has hit, and now pricing, or the pricing that's being seen out there versus what maybe the owners thought before is 20 to 30%. So
no kidding.
Without it, I think it would be an issue, right? We would see less work, but really I feel at this point, all it's going to do is kind of basically cover the inflation that we've seen in the last 6 months.
That is fascinating. I would not have guessed that.
Yes.
But yeah, I guess inflation affects everything, and the prices to build stuff right now, anything. I mean, if you're building a house or remodeling, you understand, but to go pour concrete and asphalt, I mean, we were just talking this morning about concrete shortages.
Yes.
Cement. It's a huge problem.
Prices are increasing every day. Steel, liquid asphalt, all of this in the last 6 months. The escalations, like I said, you're looking at 20, 30% on liquid asphalt, even more. Fuel. So again, I'm grateful that we're getting this additional funding because it's covering this inflation, at least. If not, you can imagine there'd be 20 or 30% less work. It just, the dollars are not
Wow.
going as far. But, this idea that, we're going to have 20% more construction or roads, I just don't see that happening anytime in the near future. I think it's going to cover that gap of funding that maybe these states wouldn't have otherwise been able to do.
That's that's fascinating. Huh. Can you talk about high school recruitment? Because I think what you guys do there is very, very cool.
Super excited about that. We brought in a gentleman named Jeremy Whitaker 3 years ago. He was a teacher at one of the local high schools. We had connected with him, and we had seen him do this signing day, kind of like what schools do for athletes that are getting ready to from high school to go play in college. So he had started that, and again, we had a connection with him. Talked to Jeremy, and he was looking for a change. We were looking for somebody like him, and he is just doing a great job for us. So, in essence, what we're doing is basically connecting with high schools all over the state in the
Mm-hmm.
areas that we operate, and just trying to help construction teachers at the high schools that have that kind of just really be a guide for them on our type of construction. There's some schools that might have they might be talking about commercial construction or carpentry or HVAC, and all that's great, but we really weren't seeing any one high school that was tackling the whole horizontal construction, the heavy civil that we're doing. So Jeremy's gone out there, connected with the teachers, and then gotten in front of the classroom. And I mean, he just has a great way of connecting with teens. He's not only doing it in high school, but we're doing it in middle schools. We're trying to,
Hmm.
he calls it root to fruit. So just kind of just plant this idea. This is a great industry. In the past, nobody's really, you have some of us that, when you were young, you played with the Tonka toys or Legos or whatever the case may be. But then all of a sudden, nobody talks about it anymore. And then you graduate high school, and then we've missed an opportunity. So
Sure.
we are now over 100. Since he started 3 years ago, we're over 100 high school students that have joined us. We also have work-based learning. So during the school year, we have right now we have the most amount of students we've had since he started. 25 high school students that while they're in high school, they come and join us for either a day or several hours a day. We try to match it with
Wow.
their schedule. We have several of them working at our asphalt plants because, as you know, those are stationary, so they can go there and work
Mm-hmm.
after school for 2 or 3 hours. So it's growing. We see this as absolutely the best answer to the labor shortage, and they're excited. We've got several simulators that we utilize. So they come in, we take those to the school and show them in the schools, but then when they come work for us in the summer, they get an opportunity to do that. But we're placing them out with our crews. We try to be smart about that and put them with foremen and superintendents and leaders in our company that have bought into this idea, that know that
Hmm.
this is really the way that we see to improve again the labor dilemma that we're in. But what's neat about it, it's spreading not only at our company but in the industry, which is great. I think it's an industry problem what we have with people, not just a C.W. Matthews. Think we're leading the way, and I'm grateful for that. Not only Jeremy, but again, our managers, our HR department, everybody really sees the benefit of this. But it has gone so far that the state legislators in Georgia, just now in this last legislative session, approved $2.9 million to provide schools with simulators and a program
Hmm.
that basically develops these students. So it appears that it's going to be six high schools and three technical colleges that are going to have these simulators. And again, this program that was developed between CAT, uh, Sim, the Sim simulators, the CAT scholars basically teamed up with our company. I believe we're the only company, or the first, I should say, in the world that partner with CAT to create this apprenticeship program. So we're utilizing that also. Once these high school employees are come to work for us, we utilize that to show them the path to become an operator.
Mm.
So we also are doing that as well. We've done 3 excavator classes, and now just started a program for dozer
Wow.
operating skills. So these employees, groups of about 6 to 8, come in 1 day a week for 12 weeks, and they get to utilize simulators. Not only that, but we're also spending time. We have several of our trainers involved with this. We have Jeremy involved, and I come in one of the weeks and also talk to them about just life skills, about what it takes to be successful in this industry. And, these young men and women, they're soaking it up. They want to learn more. They want to know how to move to the next level, not only technically as far as operating the equipment, but again, we teach them, just again, life skills, showing up to work on time, simple things like that, or, having a great attitude and work ethic. But it's more than that. Is, how do you impact your crew, leadership skills, financial information that would benefit them. So it's a lot. I mean, we have several people committed to this, but again, we're seeing huge success coming out of these partnerships with multiple schools in our area.
That's it's pretty amazing. And how, like, if you're competing on a low bid basis, so how do you? I mean, the argument would be like, oh, well, we can't afford that. Like, how do you afford investing that much in high school kids?
I would plant the question as, how can you not afford to do it? Because what we saw where we were struggling is, in there's success stories out there of somebody coming to us in their 30s, 40s, and 50s. Without a doubt, we've found some good employees that way. But most of the time, they have gone through multiple different industries, different
Mm-hmm.
jobs, and then they're coming to us and still starting at kind of the bottom of the pay scale because they don't know what we do. So we just weren't having a lot of success in that area. Whereas you get, somebody graduating from high school that pays pretty good for somebody like that, better than what they've seen, and they're just eager to learn. It's fun, it's again, it's a neat industry. If you like being outdoors, they come in, and for somebody to be able to start operating equipment at 19 or 20 years old, somebody giving them the chance to do that, they're running $500,000 piece of equipment or greater than that. So it's a huge responsibility afforded to them. We do the best we can to train them. And again, we're seeing huge success in that area. So we really see it as kind of the answer going forward. We recently, one of those young men that started with us out of high school, made foreman. So at the age of 22, 23, we have our first foreman out of that program. So here you have a young man really doing well financially, now has a truck he's driving and has a crew he's leading. So it's important again to give him that support, but they're seeing huge opportunities. So it's not that I'm against college. That's definitely one of the paths to come in the company. We have many college graduates that join us, but here's a young man that at the same age as his buddy was graduating from college, he doesn't have any, bills that he's going to have to pay for the next 10 years, any loans, and he's making as much or more than somebody coming out of school. Because, the reality is that the foreman of the future, the superintendent of the future, those people are not lining up at our door wanting to do these roles, but these high school students are motivated, and because they have a mentor, and our whole culture is buying into this concept that, hey, this is how we're going to succeed for the next, 10, 20, 30 years, is by bringing them in, coaching them, teaching them how great this industry is. And like I said, so far, I'm very excited about what the future holds in that area.
Well, it's in everybody's best interest. There's like a weird, sometimes it's the old timers don't want to teach the young people at all. And you just sit there and scratch your heads. You're like, well, you've made your whole career in this industry, and the industry is going to fail if we don't train up the next generation. Like the previous generation trained you up, but you don't want to do it because they don't want to work. So like, how do we win here? And so you look back and like, well, I had a great career there, but sorry, can't help you. Like, just from a legacy standpoint, how do you leave the industry worse off? And it's everybody's responsibility. It's not just your responsibility as the leader of a company. It's not BuildWitt. It's not anybody. It's everybody's responsibility, and everybody needs to sit around, look around, and say, hey, how do I help solve this problem? If we had everybody asking themselves that and then doing something about it, we'd be in a pretty good spot right now.
We'd be in a great spot. And if you think back, 40, 50 years ago, that is what was happening. The industry was awesome. And I think people were coming into the industry feeling that way, like, hey, it was a great job to have. And we, for some reason, I could name several, but we lost that there for some period of time. We kind of lost that this is an awesome industry. I think our culture, and I really think people are buying in. Of course, you always going to have, a couple people here and there that might not see the benefit, but for the most part, exactly what you just said is what we're trying to create is tell these experienced managers, these experienced operators and foremen is it kind of goes back to your faith question is what legacy are you going to leave behind? Nobody's going to remember you as, oh, you were a great dozer operator or you built, this job over here. Is people that we talk about that worked for our company in the past or even in our industry. When you remember somebody, you remember, hey, that person had a huge impact on my life. He really coached me and trained me. And that's what we're telling these operators. It's like, we need you. We're not going to get rid of you in exchange for one of these younger men or women, but leave a legacy. Go out there and teach somebody so that the day you retire, they're going to be talking to you for decades about, hey, this guy trained me and he invested in me. And what better legacy to leave than that?
Sure. Yeah, it's huge. What that young kid that's now foreman, what would you tell the younger kids getting into it now? Hey, I want to be foreman in 2 or 3 years. How do I make that a reality? What did he do that made him successful and allowed him to get promoted to foreman first?
I think just attitude and work ethic, those are the basics, right? Those play a huge role, but kind of just raising your hand and saying, hey, give me a chance. I think he was doing that, but we are also obviously looking for success stories. So he's the first one, but we've got 2 others that are right behind him that will make foreman probably very soon. So I think you have to have that desire to learn, that desire to be open. In our company, we're very, we try to encourage people moving from one division to the next. Don't get stuck doing just one role. If somebody says, hey, I'm looking for a paving foreman, it's a difficult job to fulfill for us, again, because we work so many nights or weekends, or we're looking for somebody to run the plant. You might be on the grading side now, but just take a chance, say, yeah, I'm up for it. As long as you're willing to mentor me and teach me, then I'll do it. That's the kind of person we're looking for. And that's what we're seeing in some of these, again, young men and young women. It's like they have a desire to learn. They have again, a big part of it is that they do have a mentor, in Jeremy and others that they're kind of looking after them and making sure that, it's more of almost like a father figure, saying, hey, why didn't you show up yesterday? You didn't call, that's not acceptable. It's just kind of trying to teach them just the basics. But the reality is that if you're passionate about what we do, if you're willing to learn, you have this teachable spirit and just willing to, again, just take on a challenge, the opportunities are endless because our industry needs these people. There's so many people that have left the industry or retired that I don't know really of any other industry that can offer the kind of opportunities that we can offer right now when the growth, I mean, we have more work than we've had in the history of our company. So there's plenty of opportunities there for those that really want to, put the effort and time to do these roles.
Well, and yeah, and the workforce problem we're facing is the next generation's biggest opportunity.
Absolutely.
That's a hell of an opportunity for anybody getting into the industry right now.
Yes.
And it's interesting too. I hear a lot of people, they, in like a negative way, like, yeah, these people, they just don't show up or whatever it is. And you said something, it's like, well, even just asking why, like, hey, why didn't you show up? And in like a caring way, not being an asshole about it.
Sure.
Like, hey, like you need to be here. Like, why not? And,
Sure.
and maybe that opens the door for some kind of conversations like, hey, I care about you. Like, I'm just wondering what the heck's going on. And I think every human, they desire to do a good job. So it's not like I think everybody wants to show up, but sometimes they might not even know how to show up.
Right.
Someone didn't even teach them something as simple as the importance of showing up, or maybe there's something happening at home or whatever it is, but just taking the time to ask that question and taking the time to even have that little bit of understanding probably goes a long way.
Having that personal relationship with the employee is just critical. I mean, I keep, preaching. I know the guys probably get tired of hearing this, but I really believe that, the relationship you have with your immediate supervisor is the reason why people leave or stay. People come up with a million excuses about, well, this person left because somebody offered them 25 more cents, or, somebody leaves, the guy didn't show up to work for 3 days. And, it's to your point is why? I mean, maybe he had something happen at home. Nobody's leaving for 25 cents
Mm-hmm.
if they have a great relationship with you, if they feel like you care about them and you treat them well. And again, I'm saying there's very few of that left, I think, in our company. I think for the most part, everybody understands that relationship is important, and that's going to be the only way that you're going to retain employees. Last year we kind of went out on a limb, and in a lot of the companies we saw were offering a bonus, a signing bonus to attract people. And we talked about that. We were in need of people desperately. And we said, we're not going to do that. We're not going to offer a signing bonus. We're going to offer a retention bonus. So the family agreed to give us $1 million to put out there for a retention bonus. So it was only for hourly field personnel. So anybody that worked between April and October and stayed with us the whole construction season got a part of the $1 million bonus. And it didn't matter how long you had been with the company. It didn't matter what position you were in the hourly side. It was just based on the amount of hours you worked during the construction season. And some of the guys got some awesome checks. And, I think more than the money, we got a lot of feedback from our employees saying, hey, we appreciate y'all recognizing us that stayed with you, not that you're trying to attract somebody from the outside and giving them a bonus. So we've continued that. We're offering that again this year. And, again, it goes back to the caring for people. But back to your point is this whole idea that if you have the relationship, if you understand the why, if, we tell these new employees that, tell your supervisor if you have something going on, if your family's got a reunion or you have some sort of special event, just let them know days in advance, and we're going to work with you to let you off. Just don't not show up. And then on the other side, we're telling the supervisors, work with these people.
Sure.
You got to treat everybody, with respect and their family. So treat them like that. We keep saying that. So let's do that. And I think that's what's working. It's a perfect no. We're still losing people between 30 and 120 days. We've done some things. First day, the employee shows up. I mean, really taking some of that knowledge from some of your other customers, from you in your team. We're trying to revamp some things. We're following up with the employees in those first few months, just to try to encourage them, because it is a tough business. It's a lot of long hours and hard work. It's hot in the summer. It's cold in the winter, but if they stick through it that first year, they kind of get to see that, man, how awesome it is to work for a family-owned company that's that large, that builds some amazing projects, but more than anything, that cares about you and that cares about your family and that wants to train you and see you succeed.
And it's you guys have been around for over 75 years, so it's been around for a while, and it's gonna be around for a while. So it's like, yeah, this is a place I could be my whole career.
Sure.
It's interesting too. I think the flexibility is a little important there because we are a production based industry, so we do need to produce. I mean, you get paid by the ton of asphalt you put down
Yes.
on a road. We can't get around that. But that doesn't mean we can't be flexible and acknowledge that people have lives outside of work.
Right.
And we've watched for 2.5 years now, the rest of the world get a hell of a lot more flexible because all of the knowledge workers, the people that don't produce, like the construction industry, they can just work from home.
Yes.
And now they have the ability to control their life in a little bit of a way that it's like, hey, if my daughter has something, I can actually go to it now, which is crazy. The construction industry, we've been watching that, and who doesn't want a little bit of control over their lives, and who shouldn't have a little bit of, it's just like it should be just a basic principle. So I feel like contractors need to find a way to just be a little bit more forgiving and just a little bit more flexible. And you can't have a paving crew work from home. I get the reality of that. But yeah, if someone's kid has something, it shouldn't just be like, no, it's just not happening. We have work to do. That's just the wrong approach. And that sucks. So moving in that just a little bit more flexible of a direction, I think makes a big difference.
It's definitely the most challenging part of our business, as you just described it. Like you said, we're all about, obviously working safe, but it is all about production. And that for us, sometimes because of doing a lot of work in the metro area of Atlanta, that means nights and weekends. And it's tough to plan around that at times, but we're making a concerted effort. Like you said, we have to find ways. So how do we do that? I mean, one of the things we've done, and all these things seem pretty basic, but we weren't doing them in the past, is we're designating weekends. For example, we shut down, we give the employees plenty of notice and tell them, hey, you're going to be off this weekend, so that they can make plans for their family. A lot of what we were hearing is it's not really that I mind working it. It's just I never know when I'm going to be off or when I'm going to be working. So that's been a challenge for us, but we're working hard to try to accommodate that as much as we can, and just find small ways to afford those opportunities, because really at the end of the day, that is what it's about, right? You're trying to provide for your family a better future for them. We want you to be happy at work, and the way we do that is by being flexible and at the same time, more than anything, communicating with our employees so they understand when we have to work all around the clock weekend or something like that. As long as we're communicating and they have notice, I think they're willing to do it. Is at times when we don't do a good job at that you get people that get worked up about it.
Well, and yeah, anybody would be worked up about it.
Sure.
It's like, yeah, I'd be annoyed if I made plans with my wife and it's like, hey, sorry, yeah, I'm working this weekend.
Right.
It's Saturday and Sunday, and maybe I'm not annoyed, but now she's annoyed, and which makes me annoyed.
Exactly. That gets us all in trouble, right?
It's not just about that individual. They have people relying on them outside of the work.
Sure.
Can you one other thing I wanted to get to? Can you explain the I don't know what it's called, but the program where you have the people from Mexico working for you?
Yes.
This summer.
Yes. So this is the first time we've done that. It's a work visa. We have 23 men and one lady that came over from Mexico. They started in April again. First time we're ever doing this, but huge success so far. So we provide housing. They pay us a small portion of the housing allowance. The company covers a good bit, but in essence, they have a visa that allows them to work between April 1st and the end of October. So none of them really had experience in construction, but they have been a great addition to our team. Thankfully, we have plenty of supervisors that speak Spanish, so the transition from being bilingual, that helps us. And again, just great work ethic. Really, the main thing is they want hours, so we got to make sure that we're accommodating to ensure that they're getting enough hours. But other than that, again, they've been a great addition, and we hope to repeat this, for years to come. Hopefully, we get the same group to come again next year, and hopefully we get some additional people. So I can't tell you that I know all the details, but in essence, the U.S. government allows so many of these visas a year. I believe it was 30,000 in years past. I think that number's increased to 50,000. So you apply, you're not guaranteed that you're going to get the workforce. We applied for 24, and thankfully we're able to get all 24. So again,
Really?
we pick them up. We have them, staying in apartments. We pick them up and they work, and then we drop them off at the end of the shift. And again, it's been great. It's been a great addition. We were looking for people, and this is just one other thing that we're doing to try to increase our workforce and have the people we need to build the work.
And I'm a huge fan of that, and that's something a lot of people have brought up, because that's what a lot of other countries do. It's very regular to have people brought in from other countries to work there.
Sure.
And it makes sense, and I like it when it's done legitimately. I wish we would do it more in a legitimate sense. It sucks that people have to do what they do to cross the border to get a better life for them and their kids. It's people that are crossing the border. Yeah, you have the drug thing, but the drug thing is over here. That's a whole different ballgame. This immigration, it's just like, you have to think, how bad is it where they're at that they have to do what they're doing? Give their entire life savings to some strangers that are completely taking advantage of them, potentially selling them into all kinds of just terrible situations, crossing the desert, however they have to do. I mean, I've been on the border. It's harsh. And then you get into a country and now you can't legally work anywhere. And so good luck just making a whole new life from scratch. It's crazy. And we need the workforce. So it's crazy that we haven't figured out, like, how do we make this more legitimate? Because there is clearly a demand. We need workers. I've worked with a lot of those immigrant workers. That's how I grew up. I grew up in Arizona. I was the only white kid out there. Everybody else typically was Mexican. Hardest working people I've ever been around. They're unbelievable, so caring. It's a different culture, so it's much more of a family environment than I've seen before, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of, but it's so hard. The current process makes it so hard to make that a reality.
I could not agree with you more. I mean, the need is huge, right, in our industry, and this is right there. It's a solution to the problem. And like you just said, I mean, just for the most part, great employees. We have a lot of Hispanic employees already with the company before these 24. We have a huge Hispanic workforce, and I see as the answer. Like you just said, it makes no sense. You and I would do it to feed our family. So like you said, they're coming across to look for a better life. The majority, like you said, put the cartel and the whole drug thing aside.
Sure.
They're just looking for an opportunity, for somebody to give them an opportunity. And we need this workforce. Our industry, not only Matthews, I mean, the agriculture industry needs it. So many people, and it's right there. And we can get both sides to agree on coming up with a solution that would benefit everybody, right? Benefit that person not coming across illegally, make sure that they're paying taxes like the rest of us. There's a way to make this work. The solution is right there. It's right there at our fingertips, but we're missing out. So we were glad to hear about this program. And again, we're just thrilled about it and look forward to hopefully grow on it for years to come. I hope that number continues to increase at the government, because I assume more companies are going to start applying for this, especially with unemployment being so low. So hopefully that number will grow and we're able to continue to do this. If we could get the same employees to come back years after year, obviously you wouldn't have to retrain that workforce. And again, they're just, I was talking to some of them just the other day, and they're just glad to be here, glad that they have an opportunity just excited to be part of the company.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
Yeah, the hospitality industry is traditionally worked that way,
Yes.
or like Vegas, for example. I mean, most of the people cleaning the rooms in Vegas, they're all not from the United States. But I haven't heard it too much in the construction industry, which is, I think, exciting.
It is.
Okay, well, we touched on a lot of good stuff.
We did.
Told you
it went by fast.
Pretty similar to what we talked about this morning. Yeah, same thing, just with microphones in front of us, so people can listen in. How do people find C.W. Matthews if they want to learn more about what you guys have going on?
Social media has become for us. We have Caroline does our social media, and she's been working with your team, and she's doing an awesome job. Really, that's kind of turned to be the way that we send out a lot of information or highlight employees and projects and all that. So yeah, look us up at C.W. Matthews, our website. Obviously, we're working with you guys. Our website wasn't the best, but it's going to be awesome here. And then the next couple of months with y'all, we're excited to kind of show the world the video that y'all created that really, I think, portrays our family values and who we are. It's very excited to kind of show the world that. And so, yeah, call me. I mean, I'm we're looking for people. We're excited. I'm always open to just kind of interact. You've put me in contact with some of my peers and other contractors in the country, and I think that's what it's all about. I mean, your mission is so important. I'm so pumped about it, about the industry as a whole. Again, it's bigger than just C.W. Matthews. It's an awesome industry. I'm just passionate about it, love it. We have a tremendous gift. We impact so many communities and so many lives and so many families. You guys with our team we've kind of created this new slogan about getting Georgia home, and we're excited about that. When we started talking about all the things that we do, and really that's what's all about. We're getting people back to their families, and just excited about what the future looks in partnership with you guys and as industry. I think there's just continues to be huge potential out there, and just hope that together we can continue to attract new people to it, because it's awesome.
We can do it. We have
Absolutely.
to do it together. So yeah, we're really excited to be working with you guys, and I'm glad you could come up here. Thanks for driving all the way up to
Absolutely.
Nashville to talk with us
I'm excited.
For a little bit.
Yeah, it was great.
Excellent. Well, everybody, that was Dan Garcia with C.W. Matthews.
Thank you.